All right, so for those of you out there that love a good cold plunge, I've got an interesting question for you. You know how when you first jump into the cold tub, how it immediately changes the way you breathe? You end up getting that hyperventilation where you breathe really fast and it kind of augments it and you feel overwhelmed by it. Have you ever stopped to think about where that comes from? Well, there's actually a group in Japan that just published a paper on this, and they wanted to look at the intersection between the way we breathe and how that actually changes the way that our skin detects temperature. Right? So what they looked at was a hypocapnia model. And what hypocapnia means is basically when we breathe, there should be a balance of the amount of CO2 and oxygen in the bloodstream to a relative degree. When we breathe fast or really deep, we blow off more air, which decreases the amount of carbon dioxide in the bloodstream. And this is called hypocapnia. Okay, so hypocapnia, right there. The interesting thing about that is when people become hypocapnic, they actually have a decrease in the sensitivity of their skin to be able to detect cold temperature. So if you have people hyperventilate and become hypocapnic and then you expose them to cold, they don't sense it as well as when they're in a normal condition. And this is really useful if perhaps you find yourself in a tub of super cold water. So it's really interesting in that way. And you may be wondering, like, why does this guy is super interested in autonomic stuff? Why is he talking about cold plunges? Well, for me, one, I find it just to be interesting. But number two, when we think about hypocapnia, this is something that's really common in a lot of people that have types of dysautonomias where they're having a hard time with circulation in the brain. They're having a hard time being able to adequately get blood flow into the brain. And this happens because when people become hypocapnic, in addition to being less sensitive to cold, they also have changes in the blood vessels, particularly in the brain. When we become hypocapnic, we actually get a constriction, narrowing of the blood vessels in the brain that decreases blood flow to that particular region. So we see some overlap in these where we have patients where when we're testing their hypocapnic ranges, that we also see changes in their ability to detect temperature. So whether you're in a cold plunge or you're someone that's having symptoms, this little bit of knowledge is hopefully useful for you. For those of you that are cold plunging out there, I'd like to hear your thoughts and your experiences with this. Otherwise, I hope you're having a great day, and we'll talk soon. Take care.